joined by the Juno Award-winning Luke Bentham of the Dirty Nil. How goes the battle?
It's good, man. I don't know, just just kind of keeping her level, just trying to keep moving forward right now. It's a strange time, but I mean, our album's going great, so I don't know, I can't complain.
Yeah, as you imagine, we were probably going to bring that up, and we'll just get it right out of the way. Tell me why someone so musically gifted with a love for painting would ever even utter the words "F art."
Because it's fun, and we are trying to bring some joy to the world. There's enough serious assholes out there and snobby people that take themselves too seriously, and we're a band that our motto is troll the world. And confuse and amuse. Those are our two rally battle cries that we kind of march under. And so, I mean, it just we had an idea at the beginning of 2020 for the whole thing, and we laughed so hard that we kind of dared ourselves to do it, and we did it. So there you go. I feel like we've kind of gotten away with a pretty good prank.
If we talk a little bit more about the album, I know that you like to say that every song was your favorite, but let's be real here. So without sugarcoating anything, which song actually was your favorite on the new record?
Well, I think that there were different favorites at different times, but I don't know. I think
why was it Ride or Die?
Ride or Die is definitely one of them for sure. I think my gut reaction is probably Ride or Die. Just because I thought we fucking nailed it with that one, and I was really proud of the lyrics, and it came together real good, and like the rhythm section sounds super good on it. Kyle, probably the best drumming he ever did for us on that song, and Ross's backups are wicked, and I wrote some kick-ass words and a kick-ass riff, so I'm just really pumped on that one. It's like kind of sounds to me like School by Nirvana meets like Motorhead, but it's like a love song.
You have a degree in psychology, correct?
Indeed.
And you completed it on tour. I'd consider that to be probably the highest form of multitasking I've ever seen in my life. Do you have any advice for any ambitious listeners about channeling your focus and organizing your priorities to achieve great things?
I would just say that I think that there is no real rule book to doing anything great in the world, but I think that the rule of thumb that I've tried to live by for at least the last 7 or 8 years is just, I think that I have to try and work harder than all of my peers if I want to be able to. And it's it's not a competition, but it's a good art's subjective and all this stuff. But you basically have to look around and if you want something that is an in-demand job or a hard thing to do, you got to work harder than most of the other people that also want it. It's just kind of a logical step. But in general, I think that to do anything really good, it just requires a very persistent, everyday type effort and not getting sidetracked by other things.
All right, so normally when we have one person on the show, we like to do a speed round, but we decided to change things up a little bit this time. So we've actually gone onto a collection of the videos posted on your channel, and we've taken 6 YouTube comments left by loyal fans. And I guess all we're going to do is just read them out and get some reactions from you for these. Right. So Brandon, let's get this going.
First one, shout out my dad's favorite band. Randy Salim said on the video from Paste in New York City, "I don't think Metallica has played Hit the Lights with that same level of intensity since before these dudes were born."
That is sick. I got a fun story for that one. We last time we were in San Francisco, we were playing with a band called White Reaper, and somebody brought out, we have a mutual friend between us and Metallica's management. So they brought out one of Metallica's managers, and we knew they were in the crowd, and we played Hit the Lights, and they came up after, and they said something similar, but it was very nice to hear.
All right, this next comment, I believe, came from the That's What Heaven Feels Like music video. It comes from Jonathan Convoy. And I think you've probably been asked this a million times, but for those who haven't heard, maybe you can answer it one more time for Jonathan here. He says, "I combed through the comments and one person mentioned the dog, but no one is asking who is the dog. Inquiring minds need to know."
That was, rest in peace, big boy, Mr. Gordon, the terrier. He was my family's first pet or first dog. Yeah, he finally, I think he's been in 1 or 2 Nil videos, but that was one of his better roles as the ice cream dog. But can we pause for 1 second? I got something to show you. So today I just got these socks made or delivered of Gordon. I don't know if you can see.
Oh my!
But
I like that.
Yeah, it's just we got yeah. Anyways, the future is now. There's 2021 ain't all that bad. You can get your old pet on your socks, so whatever.
You couldn't do that in 2011. Say what you want, but
it's true. It's true.
Exactly.
Sure, you could go outside and hang out with your friends, but
could you get socks with your dog's face on them?
It was harder.
And honestly, man, Gordon definitely went out with a better resume than most dogs. If you can say he made a couple of appearances in a Dirty Nil video, so
he did it upright, dude. He did it upright. He was a party animal, and he went down swinging. You know.
All right, this next comment comes from the Blunt Force Concussion music video, and it's a little straight to the point. It comes from a guy named Gish2386, and he just said, Luke looks like Ellen DeGeneres.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
There you go.
I can tell. From what I hear, I'm nicer than Ellen DeGeneres.
Yeah.
Only by a little bit.
Latin Loser said, came for the Les Paul Custom, stayed for the Dan Armstrong the seat. Tell us a little bit about that guitar and if you still have it.
Sure. Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's just upstairs. The Dan Armstrong. So I got that guitar in 2015 before we went on the Warped Tour, and I was working as a limo cleaner, like a limousine cleaner. So like they'd bring in these limousines from like a crazy night, and I would have to clean them out and fucking change the oil and shit. I just worked by myself, and it was just like a terrible job. You know, I was just cleaning out weird shit from limos. I'll let your own imagination fly with that. And one day I came into work and I was like, I was a little bit hungover, and I was driving this Cadillac Escalade stretch limo, and I fucking dinged it off a corner and like sheared the rear wheel well off it. And they were like, okay, well, you owe us $1,000. I'm like, no, I don't, because I fucking quit. And then I took the money that I made at that job, and I just went straight to Capsule Music in Toronto, and I bought that Dan Armstrong. That's the story of that guitar.
John Cook also on That's What Heaven Feels Like video said, saw you guys in New York City tonight. Took an Uber straight from work in Jersey on Black Friday. Stoked that ticket was around $15, but paid nearly $175 going there and back. Bought their Black Master Volume long sleeve, which I will wear to work tomorrow, which I have to go to at 8 in the morning after getting very, very slightly drunk. May have been the smallest venue I've ever been in. Luke and Ross walked off stage right away, and me and Luke did that thing where you kind of high-five, but kind of look in the other guy's hand and then kind of half-ass it. And I told them both it was a great show, and they both thanked me, and it seemed really genuine. I had to rush out, but I loved how little division there was between the band and the audience. That's something I've never gotten to experience before with a band I've loved this much. I had to rush out immediately, but if I could have afforded it, I definitely would have stuck around to exploit that.
I remember that show very well. My friend Dan Ozzie actually, he just posted a photo from that show. That was on the Master Volume tour. I remember that, but I was just recovering from. We all got sick on that tour, but I remember that was one of the first shows where we all felt really good again, and we'd experienced our first American Thanksgiving the night before. Yeah, it was great, good times. I'm glad that guy had a really good time, and I'm glad that he appreciated the fist bump or the failed contact of whatever it was. But much love to him wherever he is right now.
Well, hopefully he tunes in and he can see the words from the man himself.
Shout out John Cook.
Yeah.
Hines, that comment sounds like something you would say about the beaches. Holy shit.
Jesus Christ.
Speaking of Jesus Christ, this next comment actually comes from Jesus Christ himself, and I know it's him because he had the little check mark next to his name.
Verified, yeah.
Yeah, verified Jesus Christ. This was on the Doomboy music video, and he says, "Glorious. In case you are wondering, I appear in the video at the 44-second mark. I'm the one taking the wheel when the van goes airborne."
Yes. Yes. We did cast Jesus. JC was nice enough to come down from heaven, and he brought a case of beer with him, so he's a good guy. We honestly, that Doom Boy video was probably my favorite day of 2020. We had such a good time destroying that van out in the field. Probably my favorite day of that whole year.
Could not do this interview without taking a good amount of time to talk about the Doom Boy reviews. First one I want to get into, Mark McGrath. Wanted to talk about especially how you consider if it came from a pretty polarizing character. How did it feel to just see a video make him so genuinely happy?
It was nice, man. I mean, when our manager pitched us the idea about this whole cameo thing, I was actually pretty pumped on it. I thought it was funny, especially when you mentioned like Gilbert Gottfried and reaching out to these people. I was like, this is gonna be great. But to see Mark McGrath like actually pumped about it was pretty sick, because I just remember playing Road Rash 64, like an N64 game, and there's like motorcycles, and you would like hit the other players with chains while riding motorcycles, and there was a Sugar Ray song called Mean Machine in it, and so it's nice to have those back in time high five moments where you kind of, as I said, you kind of give your childhood self a high five. So that was pretty sick, yeah.
My personal favorite review of Doomboy came from Gilbert Gottfried. And for those who don't know, he compared the video to a fine wine that was left on the radiator for a few days. Now, when he said a fine wine, do you think he meant like a cheap Zara's wine, or are we talking more like an expensive Chardonnay?
It's a good question. To me, in my mind's eye, I picture more of like a really nice, like an Amarone, like a nice Italian, like dry red, sitting out on the vent and souring. But his comparison, the thing that got me the best and that still warms my heart the most is when he said that they should take this song and this video to Guantanamo Bay and replace waterboarding with watching this video and listening to this song. I think that's my favorite review or anything. That's my favorite thing that anyone's ever said about our band.
Before Perez Hilton said he liked your outfit and watched your video in utter disgust, he mentioned that rock music was making a comeback because of the recent work of Machine Gun Kelly. How do you feel about what Machine Gun Kelly's doing as far as resurrecting the genre?
Machine Gun Kelly.
David Hasselhoff seemed to like the video. He said that you guys looked like you were having a lot of fun, which to me strikes me as a compliment, especially if it's coming from the off. And speaking of him, one thing that you guys have in common is that you're both f***ing legends in Germany. So I was just wondering, what really helps you guys connect to your German fan base, and what sets the atmosphere there apart from other places you visited or toured?
Well, I have to say that it's amazing when you go to Europe, the backstage rider, even if you're a band that can draw nobody. Like when we first went there and had zero fans in Germany, when we were just going right before Higher Power came out, they still roll out the catering like you're the Rolling Stones headlining, some sports arena. It's crazy. It's crazy the amount of food and drinks and stuff there are backstage. It's unreal. So always had a fond place in our hearts to go back. But we wrote a song called Auf Wiedersehen, which I think helped strengthen our German fan base. And then also we went on tour with Billy Talent, and they're like Led Zeppelin there. So getting to play in arenas with Billy Talent, I think certainly helped to bolster our fan base. But they love rock and roll in Germany a lot. Big thing out there.
A few years back at the World Junior Outdoor Game in Buffalo, we were on the topic of Gord Downie, and my friend's dad described the border as being like a barbed wire fence for Canadian artists. Although you've had some success in Europe, talk about the success you've had in places like Chicago and Minnesota, but also some of the difficulties you've had trying to go into the U.S. market in general.
Well, I think a lot of people say that, the United States is really tough for Canadian bands, and that's certainly true. But the United States is tough for American bands as well. It's just a very unforgiving. It's the American dream on display. You know, it's feast or famine down there, and everybody is hustling to try and make a dollar. There isn't any kind of government subsidies like we have up here. And, you know, Tragically Hip, great band, but they've benefited immensely. And so have we from, you know, CanCon rules that have tried to equalize the playing field and give Canadian bands a real fighting shot on home soil. In America, they don't give a shit about that. It's capitalism, unrestrained. Can you make a dollar or can you not? And so we've toured America really hard for 8 years now. I mean, we couldn't go last year, but I mean, we've scrabbled together a fan base there from just constantly going there. I mean, we did 3 years of playing to very patchy crowds before. Once we released Master Volume, we basically had a fan base all over the United States, which we're lucky to have, but also we worked for it. We went out there, we ate, like, we made no money for 3 years, and most people don't have that luxury, but we did. The one thing that I'll also say is that I think one of the things that prevents successful Canadian bands from making a comparative career in the United States is that it's easier to get a bigger following in Canada because of those kind of built-in things like CanCon and, you know, Canadian rock radio stations and formerly Much Music. There's a lot of built-in things to really bolster up Canadian bands. So your career here could just go up, you know, much faster, and then you get used to accommodations in Canada, like being able to have a tour bus because you're playing to more people. And then who wants to go eat shit down in the States when you've kind of got it already made in the shade up here? So I think it prevents a lot of people from getting their hands dirty and going down to the States, because it is a lot more work to crack the United States than it is to crack Canada. So, you know, to be honest with you, I think it's just, we were very strategic about the whole thing, and we saw some of that happening with bands in the previous generation from us. So we decided to spend, you know, 70% of our total effort on the United States. And it didn't really pay off until 3 or 4 years in, really. Like it took a long time to get a fan base down there, but I'm very, very happy we do have one.
Another thing I wanted to ask you about is the night that you got to play with your favorite band, The Whom. So tell us about that. How was getting to open for your favorite band?
Well, that was a fantastic day, and I don't know. I don't, you know, with most amazing achievements or wonderful things that we get to do, there's always some kind of drawback, or your brain always says yes, but this thing happened there, and you know. That was one of those days, those rare, just pure moments or days that just the nothing corrupted it whatsoever. It was just perfect. My 27th birthday, we got to play with my favorite band, or, you know, up in the top 3 of my favorite bands. Depending on the day, they are my favorite band. But I love the Replacements a lot, and you know, I love the Rolling Stones, and you know, it depends. You know, there's newer band. You know, I love Turnstile and Metallica, and you know, I love a lot of different bands. But the Who is definitely in the conversation of my favorite one. They were my first really favorite band, and one of the reasons why we started the band. We just would come home from school and watch videos of the Who play, and they were just so much cooler than, like, you know, Zeppelin was like okay, I guess, but like they were just kind of like laid back and just kind of trying to be sexy, and the Who were smashing shit, so we were way more into that. And we were huge into the Who, you know, and so that was just one of those rare, pure days where it was perfect. And we were told that we weren't going to get to meet the Who because they were going to have their own separate area of the backstage compound. But I went out after we played. I ran into Pete Townsend, and him and I got pinned up against a fence because a car was driving super close. And he turned around to me, and I was just like, I was just like, oh my God, dude, you're Pete Townsend. I fucking love you. And he was super cool. He was super nice. And I asked him to take a photo, and he was really gracious about it. And then the guy who I tried to get to hold the phone to take the photo, I didn't realize, but it was Roger Daltrey, like the singer of The Who, and he was like pissed that like he wasn't being included in the photo. And so I grabbed him and I like screamed his name. And there's a photo of us all together, and I look hysterical, and they're just laughing because of how much I'm having a good time. So that was a great day. It was a really good day. You know?
So the other night in our first lecture back from the break, our professor came out guns blazing and showed the Dirty Nil montage to kick off his education plan for us for the next 4 months. We caught up with him afterwards, obviously, and he shared a handwritten note you sent to him after talking to us for an hour and a half from when he was a member of your record club in 2013. What did it say?
All right, so the note went like this. It went, Joe, our most sincere thanks for supporting the record club from its very inception. Your belief in our band has made our career possible, and so to you, I extend our most thorough gratitude. Lots of rock and roll on the way. Cheers, friend, your bud, Luke and the Nil. And that was, of course, addressed to Joe Woodward. So I'm not sure if you remember writing that note, and if you do, any closing thoughts on it?
Well, just to anyone in the record club.
I remember writing handwritten notes to everybody in the record club. As we were kind of, it was a beautiful idea, and I'm really glad that we did it. But it definitely turned out to be a pain in the ass while we were doing it, because we were doing lathe cuts for each one, and so each one has to be cut in real time by a guy, and the supply, basically we were having supply problems. We were having big delays, and people had already given up all their money up front, so we were basically having to answer a million emails of people looking for their records, and we were just like, oh man, we're on it, like, but this guy's still doing it. So anyways, as a way of when we closed out the record club, I wanted to make sure that that everybody that was a part of it, that we gave them our sincere gratitude for supporting us, and that was one of those notes. So I'm glad that he still has it. That's really cool. I mean, we just try and I'd say that, like, you know, I'm still obviously a huge rock and roll fan, but when I was like a little kid and I would go to shows and try and talk to people that I looked up to, I remember everybody that was nice to me, and you know, more so than I remember the people that were dicks to me. And the people that were nice to me, it was very meaningful and encouraging. So I definitely always try and be as nice as I can, and I would encourage everybody else out there to be as nice as you can. The biggest test of my faith, I think, of whether I wanted to do this or not was doing the Warped Tour 6 years ago. We did the Warped Tour, and we played to basically nobody every single day. I mean, it was us and all these bands like Black Veil Brides and these, I don't know, these fucking bands that had like fake amps and stuff on stage. Like it was, you know, there wasn't much rock and roll on the tour, to put it lightly. So
from what I've gathered, you're probably not a big fake amp guy.
Not a big fake amp guy. Not a big. The best way I can describe the Warped Tour is 3 things: heat, dust, and children with e-cigarettes wearing "Suck My F*** t-shirts. It was the apocalypse.